So there were attack close to the hospital by the LTT. Recent Learned and Reconstruction Commission report says no attack to hospital, and the report by OHCR say no attack to the hospital directly, but indirect attacks. And the University Teachers Human Rights chapter, they say there's no direct attack to hospital. Nikki League says so, there's no such attack to the hospital directly, but the indirect attack could be. And the more strong argument is affidavit given by Dr. Shanmuga Raja, Medical Superintendent of the Multi General Hospital in January 2009. He strongly believed that, he strongly gave the witness as a factual witness, on the ground witness. He mentioned that there's no any direct attack to the hospital. They were all indirect attack. Most of the attack, when it was happened, the hospital was empty. The patient has been taken away. So our point is that there's no attack to the hospital directly attack. There were maybe indirect attack because of the provocation by LTT itself. They called him Dr. Shanmuganathan, although they were supposed to be happened one attack or at the time of the attack happened, no patient on the hospital. These are the 2 points I'm going to prove today. I'll hand over my session to Mr. Suminder will take out the next part of the session. Thank you very much.
Before Suminder starts, I would like to mention that apart from 3 of us from Global Sri Lankan Forum, we have independent researcher and the scholar Professor Dr. Nehemut Sukrubusel with us. So after all our presentations, he's going to summarize and give his view as an independent researcher. He will give his views in regards to what we are talking about here today. And
is it possible to ask him?
I think we better do it at the end. Otherwise, we won't go to, you will be able to finish it.
Because I cannot remember everything in my head.
Please write it down. Yeah. Please write it down.
And just want to clarify something. Just ask the question.
Don't do that. Otherwise, we are not going to finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Doctor,
Your mission?
Sorry, my name is Manimundan.
Manimundan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you have stated, okay, you are saying all that, this is that one and this one is wrong.
Yeah.
But the Raipur figure was, the Reverend Raipur figure was based on the fact, the Reverend Raipur figure was based on the fact that 425,000 was present in that area, particular area. It was collected for the food, for the how much the things had to be sent to the. It's collected by your Grama Savagas and everybody. This information has been collected, 425,000. And then he based this out because it was in the LLRC report, you can see it. And then it came out, and then he said about 299,000 only came out. So where he's saying that this amount of people have been lost. Yeah.
So this point is 450 minus 290, 140.
Yeah, 140 he was saying that is one of the things.
Yeah,
so that has not been addressed up to now by even any Sri Lankan government.
And
okay, that has not been. But the UN have got 40,000 from the aerial photographs and all that. And then it was marked up to 70,000. Anyway, we had to be fair. There was zero civilian casualty in This was Rajapaksa says zero civilian casualty. So now you are coming out and saying something. Okay, let us investigate. That is what we want the International Criminal Court to be involved, to be investigated properly. It doesn't matter whether it is 140,000 or is it 7,000. It doesn't matter. But as far as we are concerned, we want some independent. This is not about, we shouldn't play politics here. I am not here to play. I am a human rights advocate. That I want justice for our people. That is what I am here for. It's not about whether you want that or this. It's not about. Whatever happening, the country have got second largest disappeared people in the government should be ashamed not to even prosecute one person.
Okay.
You understand what I am saying? It's not playing about politics here. See, the problem is that we had to think about it. If we are going to go on attacking each other, like you are saying, oh, Tamils are that, and we are saying on the other side, that ones are that, and we are not here, because the issue is that we had to address the issue. The issue is that justice and accountability.
Actually,
Without justice and accountability, I'm finishing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Without justice and accountability, no longer if we talk among ourselves.
Yeah.
This is at the end of the day, you are talking among yourself now, only very few people there.
Yeah,
Thank you
actually,
very much. I
actually,
have to go up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the time.
thank
But
you very much.
be fair. That's what I can say.
Yeah.
So, Council,
Thank you.
I would like to thank you for being a counter-terrorist, because it's an obligation here to be a counter-terrorist.
Counter-terrorism has been used to kill people off. It has been used in all the countries, you know, and I know. I have been working here.
You are the counter-terrorist or not?
See, I
Are you
know.
a counter-terrorist or
No,
not?
I have worked in that field.
Yeah.
All right? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Because-
Actually, what we
because as an advocate, I had to be know about most of the things.
But you must
Thank you.
trust Sri Lankan.
Thank you. I have to go to this thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, actually, what we are doing here today is that we are just bringing details about the OISL report, because that report has been just biased. That is the reason why we are here today, to explain the reasons why we should not accept their report. So it's the topic here today is to talk about there's an allegation made by the OICL, the denial of humanitarian assistance to civilians in the conflict zone. So the denial of humanitarian assistance to civilians. As you know, this is the charge that we have been forwarded to, is that during the last phase of the war, the government pursued a policy of deliberately denying humanitarian assistance to the civilians trapped in the conflict zone. So failure to, what happened was, the OISL just completely failed to consult the delegates who had the first-hand knowledge about the phase of the war. The main people were the Neil Boning, the United Residents Coordinator in Sri Lanka, Mr. Robert Blake, the US Ambassador at that time, Mr. Sukuma, Anne-Marie Sukuma, the government agent of Mulati. So none of these people have been consulted by the OISL to get the first-hand information, because they have been there at the time of this, the last phase of the war. We are just denying the charge the OISL made against us, because we had a mechanism formed to address the needs of the civilians war conflict zone. Just on that, the government formed a committee called Consultative Committee on Humanitarian Assistance. So the representatives are from the government officials, as well as all the non-governmental organizations such as the Red Cross, the United Nations Human Rights Council people, and all kind of non-governmental organization people were there as well for that meeting. So we have, the OISL has dismissed the CCHA report of an ineffective mechanism, but minutes show that these were substantive, and the extensive discussions and negotiations over various matters between the GSLF officials and the international representatives. So we have the minutes, as you can see, from the 30th of March 2009 as well as the 30th January 2009. The allegation of then the OISL is forwarded allegations towards us that deprivation of food to the civilians purposely, and the government's idea is not that government actually supplied a lot of food to the conflict area by sea and by land as well. And Ms. Sukuma, she was the district secretary, and she has ensured that 1 month's buffer stock of food available at all times. And she had written instruction
from Devaras, the Commissioner General of the Essential Services, to maintain food stocks for 1 month at all time. And next, in the same way, we have a chart. It was the facts given by the OISL and the facts given by our experts committee who investigate the facts of this investigation. So you could see we have provided enough food for the conflict area. Just because of the LTT has a brutal method of holding the civilians, and they could not get their rations, whatever is distributed, and the LTT cadres just came in the disguise of civilians, and some of them blasted in the queues as well to avoid all these efforts that has been made by the government to provide and supply food. And for sure, by the sea, 2,442 metric tons supplied to the civilians at the last phase of the war. So we have all the documentation and to prove that the food and the medical staff and then the sanitization stuff has been delivered. But as you all know, when there's a brutal fighting going on, it is so hard to implement these things 100%. But most of the people who were trapped in there did not die. Nobody died in starvation. And we were running on for sanitary purposes. There are 500 wells. They had clear water in there to drink, and the Red Cross people just supplied the sanitary, and the government of Sri Lanka also supplied the tents and all the necessary stuff for their day-to-day living. So at the end of the last phase, Mr. Amin Awad, he is the representative for UNHCR. What he has mentioned there is, Mr. Amin Awad had expressed the belief that Sri Lankan was a role model to the rest of the world in the manner in which the government of Sri Lanka had handled the humanitarian crisis caused by the LTT, using civilians as a human shield in the theatre of war, by ensuring that uninterrupted provisions of food and medical supplies reach the people. So that comment, that statement made by the representative of UNHCR, it shows that government has made efforts and supplied without any doubt for the people of the north, the Tamil people, and they are the people of Sri Lanka, they are the citizens of Sri Lanka, and the government has a right and government has a responsibility to look after them. That is what the Sri Lankan government has done. But at the end, I would like to mention that it is so hard to 100% deliver all these to gain all these objectives because the brutal fighting going on. And LTT cadres, what they did was the cooperative shops being looted. They just came and destroyed all the cooperative shops. Some of the food had been stored. So most of the people had to go sometimes without food due to LTT's work. And the other hand, after the war, people have found a lot of paddy lorries that was supplied by the Sri Lankan government of the people of the north, especially Mullaitivu and the Wani area. The paddy lorries were being found after the war. So that another example and another proof that government has provided food for the civilians there. So at the conclusion is the OISL report, the failure to consult the relevant officials and the representatives to obtain proper and accurate details that negates the OISL charge of denial of humanitarian assistance to civilians in the conflict zone. And I have loads of information, the first-hand information and the facts with me if somebody wants to find out what it is. And I would like to conclude my speech regarding the denial of humanitarian assistance to civilians in the conflict zone. And thank you very much, and I'm Suminder Anantharu. Thank you.
As a third element of the charges leveled against the Sri Lankan Armed Forces, I suppose we give a presentation about the unlawful killing, but because of the timing, we are a little bit behind the time allocated to us. So I'm going to give you just a 2-minute brief, what is supposed to be, but it's not going to be complete as we are intending to do it. We're supposed to be talking about this subject of unlawful killing with the third element, about the white flag incident, Balachandran Prabhakaran's death, Ramesh terrorist leader's arrest, and the death, and the Isai Priya LTT representative's death. And when I go into the first one, when you're looking into the first one, the white flag incident, it is the unlawful killings in the OISL report refers to a number of alleged incidents. The purported killing of Balasingham Nadesan, Pulidevan and Nadesan's wife Vinita, killing of Colonel Ramesh, the purported killing of Balachandran Prabhakaran, and the purported killing of the Isai Priya, the LTT 15%. When we are looking into the Nadesan, Pulidevan and Vinita incident, the allegation here is that Nadesan, Pulidevan and Vinita surrendered to the security forces after having been assured by the government that they would be safe, but were shot dead after they surrendered. This is a summary of what the report says about the incident. According to the testimony of witnesses, on the 18th May, Nadesan spoke with Basil Rajapaksa and said he was willing to surrender along with a number of other cadres, including Pulidevan. And there are some other details about the way they did the communication, but I'm not going into the details. But I'm going to end with the OISL, OISL, apart from the evidence and everything they are summarizing, but at the end, OISL report says about this incident, based on the forensic analysis of the photographic as well as video material, witness statement as well as the open sources, OISL concludes that there are reasonable grounds to believe that LTT's senior political wing leader Nadesan, Pulidevan and Nadesan Roy Vinita were executed by the security forces sometimes after 6 a.m. on 18th of May. However, this is the important part I am going into. However, further investigation is required to determine the full facts as to what happened and who was responsible for the killing. In other words, they say they are not sure. I draw your attention to that last sentence again to repeat, according to the OISL report's own admission, after reviewing all of their evidence, which includes hundreds, thousands of photos, hours of video footages, dozens of witness testimonies, and so on, they are not in a position to determine who was responsible for killing. I'm not going into the other details about the planning as I said before, and I'm
That
going
is not their terms of reference. If you look at their terms of reference of OISL report, everything comes under terms of reference. Your statement, that is a statement which was created, that was not part of their terms of reference.
It is in the paragraph.
That is why, that is the paragraph which says, is further investigation is necessary. Is you understand as a person who is dealing with it?
No, we all understand, sir.
Understand, the statement is saying that we need further investigation. That is why they recommend a panel of hybrid judges and everybody.
But I am referring is 340.
That is why they are saying that they
Let's finish it.
Yeah.
We have one more speaker.
And I'm not going into details of the further paragraphs on the OISL report or the other things, but I'm going to hand over to Mr. Mehmet, Dr. Mehmet, to conclude the remarks.
Many thanks, and I would like to say many thanks our dear counter-terrorist friends. To be a counter-terrorist is an obligation to be a human rights defender. But I prepared something about my speech, but very short time. What I would like to say is that, in fact, positive peace in Sri Lanka is prevented by the Human Rights Council and by the OECD report. OECD report is an international wrongful act of Human Rights, High Commission for Human Rights, and the resolution 30/1 of the Human Rights Council resolution is a blank page for all humanity and for all human rights defenders, because it doesn't define LTTE as a terrorist organization like the OECD report. Please stop. Now, if there are the crimes against humanity as defined in the Geneva Conventions, and Rome Statute, Article 8 things, and you do not define a non-state armed group as alleged as terrorist under international customary international law, you are not a human rights defender. One more thing, please stop. Please respect.
Yeah.
If you are a human rights defender, you should be a counter-terrorist. And it's an obligation to define LTT as a terrorist organization. The black page for the human rights of all the world is that if a criminal organization, one side is an elected democratic government, there can be war crimes. In every war, unfortunately, there are the crimes. This is another issue of the intent. But there, on the other side, there are the warlords. International counter-terrorism. Stop. Please respect. First, respect.
Few months ago.
Please respect. As a counter-terrorist, because we are a counter-terrorist and we are a human rights defender. Please stop.
Something.
Okay,
You are
sabotaging me. You are sabotaging me. Stop.
Okay.
The thing is that to bring our obligation as human rights defender to bring positive peace to the island.
Okay.
You know the positive means?
I do.
Okay, negative peace. The gun stop, positive peace, you build the future.
Yeah.
To build the future in Sri Lanka, to create the positive peace,
Yeah.
we should show that the killing of LTT is illegal, it's not a thing of self-determination, all the funny things that has been told here. Nothing can legitimize killing of innocent people. Nothing can legitimize
That's why
suicide.
both-
It's
both
your
are
obligation
fine.
to
If
define
both-
LTT
both
as a
parties-
terrorist.
if
Stop.
both
Respect
parties-
more.
both
You will
parties-
stop. And what is that? Now, there are the problem of immunity because the people should be under investigation. Who prepared OECD report?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is a problem in the UN system. What I say is that Human Rights Council Resolution 30/M is a threat to world peace and security.
That is
Sri
correct.
Lanka government has a right to go to UN Security Council
Yeah.
against the
Why they
Human
are
Rights
doing-
Council Resolution
Why they are
30/M
doing it?
because it's a threat to world
Why-
peace and security because it
Why
legitimizes
are they
and
doing it?
gives
4 5 years are not done
immunity
yet.
for the
That is wrong.
perpetrators of the
Okay,
financing
that is wrong.
terrorism and
That is-
legitimizes killing of the children. Stop, you are sabotaging me.
You want this later.
What I have to say here is that if you are a human rights defender,
Yes.
obligation of counter-terrorism, let's work together
Yeah.
to open an international criminal investigation for the finance of perpetrators of terrorism, which is an obligation that Human Rights Council did not do it.
Yeah.
Human Rights Council made an international wrongful act
Yeah.
because Human Rights Council is not an organization of Security Council.
Yeah.
It's under a mandate.
Yeah.
United States or China, any country
Yeah.
can go to Security Council with their own political point of view.
Yeah.
But when the same person comes to the Human Rights Council,
Yeah.
it's under the obligation of the mandates that is given to him under the obligation of General Assembly resolutions. Under the General Assembly resolutions, when there are in the reports written OSCE that all the war crimes are made by the LTTE, it's under the definition of terrorism. In the first resolution, the Human Rights Council 25/M, the situation is defined as combat terrorism. But OECD report changed it as civil war. It's not a civil war. It's a combat against terrorism. So what has happened in Sri Lanka is combat terrorism. When under customary international law, all the gross violation crimes that is made by LTT is defined under the Geneva Conventions and Rome Statute. Under that position, no, you cannot. No, you
Ask the
cannot.
question at the end of this speech.
No, you cannot.
You can answer.
It's an obligation, Human Rights Council, to define LTT as a terrorist. They didn't do it in the Human Rights Council 30/1, and it's a threat to world peace and security. OECD report did not define LTT as a terrorist. As a human rights defender, you should define LTT as a terrorist. If you do not define LTT as a terrorist, all the things are written in the OECD report, you are not a human rights defender. And there is also one more thing. Sri Lanka government has a right to go to the International Court of Justice for the legality of the thing. So, are you against an international criminal investigation for the finance of the LTT? It's an obligation. They didn't do it. Now people say that the Sri Lanka government co-sponsored resolution 30/M and obliged to do it. It's an international wrongful act, my dear friend, as a counter-terrorist. When there is an international wrongful act, co-sponsored means nothing. And if Human Rights Council insists on this international wrongful act, it will never work. And there are United Nations Security Council resolutions. Look at the Security Council resolutions on Sri Lanka, on Sierra Leone. It is an obligation to define LTT as a terrorist. If Human Rights Council does not define in the next Human Rights Council resolutions LTT as a terrorist, Sri Lanka government does not have any obligation for the co-also consort of the 30/1 resolution, because it's an international wrongful act. We come maybe on the 20th of next week, September, at room 22 at 12 o'clock. I will enter the details. Please leave all your questions to that place. I especially invite you. Also, I can give you a seat. So I don't want any questions. If you are here next week, I will give you a seat for 15 minutes and to talk against me. Are you ready? Are you ready? Please tell me, are you ready? No, are you ready to speak with me in my side event? I will give you a seat.
I'm not here next week.
Unfortunately, but I am ready to answer you.
We are running out of time, we have to leave.
But just only two questions
Yeah.
I am asking.
Yeah.
Okay, here got a side event, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But in that, he's talking about Myanmar and supporting Myanmar Act in a different way to whatever the Sri Lanka Act is different. I equate both of them together, they're both the same. That is my statement, that's different.
Yeah,
Okay?
Yeah.
And
That is your
the
statement.
question,
That's your
that is
question.
my
That is
statement,
his
okay?
statement.
That is my statement. But on the other hand, if you really want some sort of reconciliation, because it's all right with you
For
guys.
reconciliation, you
You
should
can-
first begin LTT
Yes,
as
yes,
terrorist.
yes,
If you
please.
do not define LTT as terrorist, there is no reconciliation.
If you want real reconciliation in Sri Lanka, you have to address. You cannot stand behind certain ideology. We have stuck behind certain ideology for 30 years, not 30 years. It's but from 1948, certain ideology that Tamils doesn't belong to the island and all sort of rubbish in Maharashtra. If you are going to do that, it's going to be, you can have unitary state. Sri Lanka was in 1833, there was 3 kingdoms. This was well documented.
I think you are going in-
It's well documented. And British,
Go to the point.
I'm going to the point.
Point to his point, nothing else, his point, please.
His point.
His point.
Please don't go-
You are talking, you are answering for the, for
No,
his.
one question, we can start different discussion,
Okay.
okay?
I just want to tell you, hold on a minute.
Wait.
The 30 years, you had the ideology.
No,
The LTT had the ideology.
No,
That is what you were talking about, the
no, I am
ideology
not
of
talking about
separating the
ideology.
country for